The story of Brad Stevens' coaching career is absolutely insane. He went from potentially living on a friend's couch and working part-time at Applebees to being the president of basketball operations for the Boston Celtics. Today, we'll break down how Stevens went from rock bottom to one of the most important pieces of one of the most successful franchises in NBA history. Before he coached a single quarter of basketball, Stevens was an impressive player himself at Zionsville Community High School.
Barnes pulls up from 15, high off the glass, no good. Brad Stevens with a rebound, and he put it in.
He grew up loving Reggie Miller, and as a result of this, wore number 31 in high school. He made the varsity team as a freshman and quickly proved himself as the best player in school history.
Jake and Bake move back to the top from Brandon. Draws a double team. They dump it to Stevens. He hit it!
He finished his high school career setting school records in career scoring, assists, steals, and three-point percentage. He averaged 26.8 points per game and was an absolute beast on the court.
Stevens races up the right side of the floor, pulls up, launches a three, he hit it! Brad Stevens with 5.
Despite this impressive high school career, he went on to play Division III basketball at DePauw University. He was far from the star he was in high school at DePauw, but still averaged over 8 points per game in 3 of his 4 years there. During his summer vacations in college, he spent time coaching at summer camps at Butler University. After he graduated college, he was offered a volunteer role in the Butler basketball office. However, he already held a job at Eli Lilly that put him on pace for a very successful career. In the summer of 2000, Stevens faced a very tough choice: going the safe route and continuing his career at Eli Lilly, or risking it all for his basketball dreams. He consulted his longtime girlfriend about the decision, and after thinking on it for 2 hours, she finally gave him the green light. However, this volunteer role was far from the high life that Stevens would go on to live. He planned on living in his friend's basement and taking a job at Applebees just to pay his bills. But before he kicked off his Applebees training, he was offered a low-paying admin position for the basketball team. This role would have never been possible had Butler's then-assistant coach Jamal Meeks not resigned after being arrested for solicitation and drug charges. Stevens began his career under Thad Matta and was quickly working his way up the totem pole. After Matta left for a new role, new head coach Todd Licklider promoted Stevens to a full-time assistant coach. Butler was extremely successful with Stevens in the assistant role, and after Licklider left for a new position in 2007, Stevens was promoted to head coach. Heading into his first season as head coach, Stevens was the second youngest to hold the position in all of Division I basketball. Butler continued to excel in Stevens' inaugural year, and when the regular season came to an end, they posted a very impressive record of 27-3. After taking down Illinois Chicago and Cleveland State in the Horizon League tournament, Butler punched their ticket to the 2008 NCAA tournament, where they earned the 7th seed. In the first round of the NCAA tournament, they took down South Alabama before falling to second-seeded Tennessee in the next round. In only his first season, he had coached Butler to 30 wins, becoming the third youngest coach in Division I history to do so.
I think he's really trying to push us to a level that we don't even know that we can get to yet, but he sees that.
After only 1 year in the head coaching role, he was given a 7-year contract extension. Stevens continued excelling as Butler's head coach and elevated the program into being a Division I powerhouse.
I think he's really trying to push us to a level that we don't even know that we can get to yet, but he sees that.
His best year at the school came in the 2009-2010 season. The roster featured Gordon Hayward and Shelvin Mack, 2 players who were crucial in Team USA's gold medal run in the FIBA Under-19 World Championship. Butler entered the season as the 11th best team in the country. However, their season got off to a rough start, suffering early losses to Minnesota and Clemson.
When you coach these guys, you can be at peace with whatever result you achieve from a win-loss standpoint because of what they give. and they gave it everything they had.
Despite the slow start, Stevens was able to rally the troops, and at one point of the season, they went on a 16-game winning streak. Also during this season, Stevens tied the NCAA record for most wins by a head coach in their first 3 seasons with 81 wins. In the NCAA tournament, Butler earned the 5th seed and faced off against UTEP in the first round. Heading into the game, many had Butler on upset alert against a dangerous UTEP roster. However, they made these analysts look dumb and blew UTEP out of the water, winning by a final score of 77-59. In the second round, they faced off against Murray State. They narrowly escaped this game by a final score of 54-52 after Hayward was able to deflect an inbound pass with seconds left on the clock. They faced off against a juggernaut of a Syracuse team, and it appeared that Butler might be in over their head. However, with Butler down by 4 and around 6 minutes left in the game, Stevens called a crucial timeout. Following this timeout, Syracuse was held scoreless for the next 5 minutes, and Butler came out on top by a final score of 63-59. After taking down the top seed in the Western region, Butler had another tough test in front of them, taking on second-seeded Kansas State. This was once again a masterfully called game from Stevens, and his team punched their ticket to the first Final Four appearance in school history. In the Final Four, they took on one of the top teams in the country in Michigan State, coached by one of the best in the game, Tom Izzo. Stevens and Butler came up huge again and faced off against Duke and Coach K in the national championship. In this national title game, despite Butler being outgunned, it came down to the buzzer. With just seconds left, Hayward sent up a half-court heave that just narrowly missed. While they came up just short of a title, Stevens established himself as one of the brightest young minds in the entire sport. After all the success that he had in Butler, an eventual jump to the NBA for Stevens was almost inevitable. This finally occurred on July 3, 2013, when he was hired as the head coach of the Boston Celtics.
Obviously, it's an honor and a privilege to be here.
Following the departure of Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, it was clear that the Celtics were entering a full rebuild, with their top player being Rajon Rondo. As a result of this, Stevens' first year in the league was far from pretty. Boston finished the regular season with a 25-57 record. However, they made a massive jump the following season, going 40-42 and earning a spot in the playoffs.
I told somebody he's the smartest guy in the room, but he doesn't have to tell anybody.
While they were swept in the first round, this was still an incredibly quick turnaround and spoke to the talents of Stevens as a head coach. In the 2015-16 season, Stevens had his first winning record, going 48-34. However, they were once again bounced in the first round, this time in 6 games. The next season, he coached the Celtics to the top seed in the Eastern Conference. This was his most successful playoff run to date, taking down the Chicago Bulls in 6 games in the first round and the Washington Wizards in 7 games in the second round. However, they ran into a juggernaut of a Cleveland Cavaliers team that was 1 year removed from winning a title. Despite Boston's best efforts, they were taken down in 5 games. The next season was arguably Stevens' most impressive coaching feat in his career. In the offseason, the Celtics were able to acquire both Kyrie Irving, and Stevens made a reunion with Gordon Hayward. However, by the time the postseason came around, both stars were sidelined with injuries. Despite this, he developed Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, bringing them to the brink of stardom. They got their chance at revenge against the Cavaliers once again in the Eastern Conference Finals. This was a series that came down to the wire, and Boston came close to getting the best of LeBron James and Cleveland, forcing James to play every second of Game 7. While the Celtics came up just short, it was clear that they were a team with arguably the brightest future in the entire league. While Stevens served as the team's head coach for the next 3 seasons, this 2018 playoff run was his most successful in Boston. Following the 2020-21 season, Stevens transitioned from head coach to executive of basketball operations in Boston.
Obviously very excited, but also cognizant of the fact that
a lot of lives are affected when change happens.
Since taking over this role, he has masterfully constructed the Celtics roster to be the deepest and most talented in the league. They have made it to 2 NBA Finals in his short time in the position, falling to the Golden State Warriors in the 2021-22 season, and most recently taking down the Dallas Mavericks in the 2023-24 season. This title win over Dallas has Boston set up as the team to beat in the 2024-25 season. His keen eye for talent has allowed him to set Boston up to be a championship contender for years to come. Without the masterful trades he made to acquire Drew Holiday, Derek White, and Kristaps Porzingis, there's a strong chance that Boston would not have even made it to the finals last season. Trades like these from Stevens did not go unnoticed, and he was named the 2024 Executive of the Year.
All right, welcome back to Celtics Post-Up. Brad Stevens named the NBA's Executive of the Year.
In the trade for Holiday, Boston was only forced to trade Malcolm Brogdon and Robert Williams, the Warriors' 2024 first-round pick and a 2029 first-round pick. Last season with the Celtics, Holiday posted averages of 12.5 points, 5.4 rebounds, and 4.8 assists per game while shooting a ridiculous 42.9% from 3. He earned a spot in the All-Defensive Second Team and finished 6th in the Defensive Player of the Year voting. To acquire White, Boston only had to give up Josh Richardson and Romeo Langford, a 2022 first-round pick and a 2028 first-round pick swap. Since joining the Celtics, White has averaged 13.3 points, 4.4 assists, and a block per game while shooting 38% from 3. This has earned him 2 appearances on the All-Defensive Second Team, and he even finished 8th in Defensive Player of the Year voting last season. Finally, to acquire Porzingis, the Celtics dealt Marcus Smart, Danilo Gallinari, Mike Muscala, and a second-round pick. Last season, Porzingis averaged 20.1 points, 7.9 rebounds, and 1.8 blocks per game on very efficient shooting splits. There's a strong chance that if he wants, Stevens could remain in this position for the remainder of his career. And if he chooses to stay in Boston, they will likely be a dangerous team for the foreseeable future.